All right, we're live. I think your camera's better. I don't know.
I can't see it. No, I can't see you.
Now, the annoying thing is here, if you see in this bottom corner, there's
I
this
can't
little...
see you. So I
Oh,
can't,
you,
listen.
you don't see me?
Yep.
What do you see? Anything?
Just a bee with in a green circle, like your avatar thing. Yeah, I briefly did see the FRD hold please image, and now it's just nothing. It's blank.
Microsoft Teams off to a blazing start here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. See if that fixes it. You seeing anything now?
Nope.
What? I can see that I'm sending you video.
Yeah, I don't know. I do like that when you're in a call, it makes your presence like unavailable in a call. Like I think that's smart.
What does this little button even do?
The UI is a mess, and like I said to you yesterday, like there's no contacts list, so I can start typing in someone's name and it auto completes because we're all in the same business. But why isn't there a list of people? It's kind of strange.
I don't know. I might be calling you back on... Well, you might just not have video. I don't know. I have no idea what this is doing.
Okay.
Trying to use Teams and it just works.
Now, are you sure that this is going to record properly?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we can just do it this way and figure it out later if you
The
want.
thing is like it's easier with the camera or with the XSplit. I can actually get more Paul throughout in here, I think.
Interesting.
It's what the people want. Look at that.
I need a do.
We're recording, we're broadcasting, we're side by side. All right, let me mute this microphone.
Okay. I see a green bee, but it's okay. I've gone through worse than this. What I want is not to retweet this.
All right, to people in the outside world, can you, you should be able to see everything. Let me know if you guys can't.
Oh, right. That's not a bad idea. Actually, I could leave it on in the browser, maybe.
Oh no, I mean, well, I didn't. Oh wait, I could look. I'm an idiot.
Yeah, there we go. No, that's fine. It's delayed by some
yes,
number of seconds, but I can see it. It's cool. I can see how messy my hair is now. That's good. Good.
Yeah, you look better. You look. I'm clicking the wrong thing.
So we went out for a walk, and it is beautiful outside.
That should fix the cameras.
Rat's nest.
All right, Eternal Oozle says we have good audio and video. All right, you ready to rock and roll, Paul?
Mm-hmm.
Just Paul, I actually already titled this
Yeah, no, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
You have to admit my title was pretty good.
It was. I already had it written.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay.
For those of you who haven't seen the headline, the title of the show's today is If a Podcast Happens in the Woods. Mostly because I was trying to put together the show notes, and there was, Paul, there's not been a lot happening.
So you're probably going to hate me for mentioning this, but you actually sound really distant, and it makes me wonder if you are on the right microphone.
Well, I might be on the wrong microphone for Teams.
Okay.
But
I got you. Oh, so I'm hearing this, but the audio going into the system is correct.
Yes.
Okay.
If not, you know what? We've gone 5 weeks without any complaints about the show quality or audio.
Yeah, so we were due.
Yeah.
Yep.
We absolutely were due.
Okay.
Paul, speaking of things, there are a couple things of notable to talk about. I spent somebody else's money today on something that we're going to use.
Yeah, I see a picture of it back there. What's going on?
So for people who aren't aware, but most people are probably aware if you're watching this, every time we travel, we do a behind-the-scenes video, Paul. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
That sound right? I usually shove a camera in front of our faces for 72 to 96 hours consecutively and hack together 10 to 15 minutes of Paul and I almost getting run over by cars or eaten by bears. And
Pretty good summary. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as many people might know, Build is coming up in about 3 weeks, give or take. And then we're going to be in Chicago together. And we've got some filming coming up. And the iPhone that was connected to that thing is dead.
Right. I know it had battery problems.
It's grown from battery problems to touchscreen not working problems. And, I think it's time. I think it was time to upgrade. So what I ordered here, this is a Canon EOS M6 mirrorless DSLR. But Paul, as you can probably see here, at least, well, if you could have seen it once, the screen is forward facing.
Right. It's almost like it's a selfie camera.
That's kind of what they marketed it as. And this thing has optical image stabilization in the base, in the body, and the lens that it's coming with also has it. And it should be pretty good. It's not going to be perfect as the gimbal, but I think it's going to give us, well, first off, it's going to be an upgrade in quality because that iPhone 6 barely did 720p 24 frames per second, I think. And this will do 1080p at 60. I got to get a little Gorilla tripod thing for it, and that's the new face of reality, Paul.
I like it.
Yeah, I think it'll be here Sunday.
By Sunday, I shall have returned to the inside.
Yeah.
Because I can assure you between now and then, I will mostly be outside.
Yes, actually, we are doing what I can only describe as the most suburban family thing possible this evening.
Okay. All right. What's
yesterday, we were playing in the streets because we live on a pretty secluded street, not a lot of traffic, and a bunch of the neighborhood little kids were out playing. And tonight we're going to do the same thing, but we're ordering pizza. We're going to have beer, and we are going to play in the street.
I like it. Not trying to compete with you, but our neighborhood is having a neighborhood-wide yard sale today and tomorrow.
Oh.
And we spent today walking around to visit all the people who are having yard sales.
Yeah. Speaking of the weather, it is. You alluded to something where you'll not be spending it. At least we won't be spending it outside because it's supposed to rain and thunder tomorrow, and Sunday it's 61, and then Monday it drops back down to 41. But here's the good news: Tuesday it's right back up to 60, and then we got 72. And
yeah, I think it's stabilizing.
If it snows again, I'm driving to Pennsylvania to beat you and going to film it on this brand new camera.
As you beat me with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
We record it in 60 frames per second. That way we can slow it down to watch the bludgeon just occur in real time.
Super slow-mo mode.
Yeah. Yeah, folks, as you can tell, there's not a lot going on today. And actually, the show notes said there's literally nothing going on.
Yeah, I pinged Brad today, and I was like, the show notes look a little Spartan. And by Spartan, I mean literally empty.
He's not wrong. There are some other things, actually. Where did my mouse go? Because sometimes there's just not... well, actually, Eternal Eyes... I cannot pronounce your name. Said a vlogging rig. Yes, that is actually... The one question actually I do have about this thing is the microphone. Hopefully it doesn't suck. That's...
Right, that's a good point. That phone, that camera rather, I wouldn't be surprised if they had a connection for an external mic.
Right, which very well could be possible. Actually, I bet it is possible. I'm trying to make it more simple in life.
Yeah,
of
course.
The big pain in the ass thing with the iPhone was actually transferring the video from the phone to the PC, because you either have to pull out that cable, install iTunes, and then just start praying. Or you can upload it to OneDrive, all of the options, which kind of suck. The nice thing about this is standard SD card. Until Microsoft removes that from the Surface laptop, or Surface Book, that will be the preferred method of downloading all that goodness. So, you know what I did right before this call, Paul, besides ask you if you have anything to talk about?
What's that?
And this is going to sound super trendy. Especially because of what's going on the Hill this week. I actually deleted Facebook from my phone. I'm not going to get rid of my account because I still need it. But
right.
I removed it from my phone for the first time. That's probably the first time since I've had an iPhone 4 that it doesn't have Facebook on it. I'll see how long I last, but I've realized that there's no value in it.
I, I mean, I'm not willing to take that step. I'd written about Facebook this week myself, and I looked at you can do that data download, right? It's worth doing. People seem to be freaked out by this. I got to be honest. For me, it was mostly nostalgic. I mean, it was kind of interesting to go back and look at old photos and things. But there are those pages you can look at that have things like, the ads you've looked at and interacted with, and it's kind of interesting to me because I don't know where they're getting this from exactly, but Facebook owns Instagram, and on Instagram, I actually it's goofy to even admit to this, but I follow some Instagram accounts that are basically businesses, right? So you can imagine I follow like Microsoft Surface on Instagram or whatever, or OnePlus, things like that. And then you see targeted ads, which are probably based on the things that I follow, or who knows how they do this stuff. But one of the things that came up for me was an eBags ad, maybe a month or two ago. And then you would see these ads kind of appear from time to time. And I saw a backpack that I thought was really cool. I really prefer smaller bags. And I clicked on it and found out that they had a smaller version of it. It's still bigger than the bag I typically use, but I've used it in the last few trips, and it's a great bag, and it will be particularly good for when I go to Europe this summer, and I always bring like 2 laptops. It's got room for all that stuff. It's got a nice protective shell for fragile items like power supplies or headphones or glasses, things like that. It's got some really nice features. And I actually bought an eBags bag because it was advertised to me on Instagram. Like that actually happened, and it's a good bag. But I was interested to see that eBags appeared for me as an ad on Facebook, according to the Facebook data I downloaded. I don't recall seeing it on Facebook, but I wonder if there was some tie-in there with Instagram because it's owned by the same company.
Well, I just did something dumb that I kind of didn't think about. I
was looking at you play with the UI there.
Yep, totally forgot that was streaming. I was trying to change the mic.
It's okay.
I was trying to change the mic so that it would. You're definitely picked up on the other.
Yeah.
On the other microphone, which is why it sounds distant. But
okay, it's okay.
Well, I was trying to make your life better, Paul. And
we're I don't know if we've talked about this, but we're using Teams now, right? We're literally right now using Teams. I guess some people at the company had been experimenting with it for some time. I didn't get really on board with this till this week. And I will just reiterate the fact that you cannot overstate how important familiarity is. And the fact that this thing is different in goofy ways from Skype makes it really difficult to use in some ways. And there's weird little things that are the same, like the ring sound you get when someone is trying to chat or not chat, but, do an audio or video chat with you is almost identical to the Skype sound. That's interesting. The way that the overlays come up so you can answer that call are much more subtle in this product. But the way that you go in and configure things like which camera to use, which I think is what you were just screwing around with, is something you can only do in the current chat window. It's not a setting, which I don't understand why it wouldn't be just a system-wide setting.
Yeah, no,
and it's really I found it very frustrating. Yesterday, whenever that was, to figure that out.
It's even worse than that. You can only configure it during a call. You can't.
Yeah, I mean that's incredible. That just doesn't make any sense.
I had something
I
else.
don't know. We have rituals, right? When you install a new PC or you bring your phone back up, and part of that process is you go through some list of configuration changes that you make to the system. You go through some list of applications that you install. You have to then configure those applications. One of the things I've grown very accustomed to doing over, 10 plus years now is you go into Skype settings and you make sure it's set up for the right microphone, the right camera. And that's about it. I guess the sound output's usually fine. But, well, actually, no, sound output too, because I use a USB-based mixer, and the system wants to use it for all of those things, even though it's only used for the microphone. And if you output sound to it, it goes nowhere. There are no speakers attached to that thing. And you do that in advance. You do it so you're ready when that first call comes in. In my case, it's going to be a podcast of some kind. I record 7 of these things every week. It's just professional. You want to be ready, and you literally can't do that with Teams. That is just goofy to me. I it's made by the same company. It might be made by the same people.
Paul, are you telling me that you miss Skype?
Okay, let's scale back a little bit here. There are things I do like about Teams, and this is a problem they could fix. But I guess the terribleness of Skype is at least predictable. Does that make sense?
Yep. I'm going to butcher this name so terribly, and I apologize well in advance. Shubhan, we're going to go with that. He says,
Okay.
Teams is Skype internally. Even while creating bits for Teams, one of the ID parameters have Skype in them.
Yeah, I mean, right. There's no doubt this thing was not written from scratch, right?
Yeah.
Well, let me step back from that. I mean, I think the app itself is written from scratch. It's a web app. It's whatever it is. But they didn't just reinvent all of their calling and group calling and whatever other Skype functionality. Obviously, it's the same team, the same group, whatever. But I think the thing we're talking about is very much top level UI stuff, right? I'm sure the underpinnings are all the same. It's just a rebranding from Skype for Business or whatever, and they've added some functionality of some kind, I'm sure, on top of it too. But man, the UI is, I don't know, maybe I'm just so far removed from being a millennial I can't even wrap my head around it. But it just seems illogical to me.
You're bashing my people, Paul.
Yes. Yes. In my secondary career of bashing millennials, whose only fault is that they're young.
There was many things on Twitter, but one of them that came across the feed today was, it says millennials don't know how to cook, and then there was a string of replies of people responding to what boomers would do, including cutting up hot dogs, putting it in Jell-O, and calling it salad.
Yes. Listen, I grew up in the 80s. I can't make fun of anybody. All you have to do is watch a couple of music videos to understand that I don't have a pedestal to stand on here. It's generationally speaking, I come from the nadir, if you will, of American culture. So, sure.
And that's what people tune in for, is the American culture of First Ring Daily, because that is, we are
Yep. Sorry, everybody.
We've let you down yet again on a Friday, as is tradition around here, to let people down, because that's what we do. Yep. All right, I say we dive into the comments, Paul, because that is what we actually do here on Friday when there's typically a lot of things to talk about. But one of the things we are going to do right now is look back at some of the better comments of the week, because there are a lot that happened. And, we're going to start making it a requirement that when you fill out your user profile, you have to phonetically spell out how to pronounce it.
Yep.
I'm going to go with Descar. On the HomePod having poor sales, he says, part of me feels like this whole speaker thing is going to be a flash in the pan.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I thought so too.
And by speaker thing, I think what he's referring to is like smart speakers,
Yes.
like digital assistant controlled speakers. Yeah, I think that's fair to say. But it's not because that technology goes away. It's because it evolves and becomes more pervasive. This is that ambient computing thing I keep babbling about, that right now, the logical place to put that stuff, well, the first logical place is on a phone. The reason they're on speakers is because Amazon didn't have a phone, right? So they wanted some kind of inexpensive device they could stick in a house, and they came up with a speaker. So it's worked out pretty well. I mean, they've sold tens of millions of them. It's a pretty solid business. But I agree. 5 years from now or less even, the market for these kind of things is not going to be like it is today.
Yep, I tend to fully agree. I definitely think there is a market for them, but it's not a smartphone style market. It's not a laptop style market. It's it's people who, the reason we bought them is I like music. We listen to music all day long, and Sonos quite literally just made it easier to get more music. And now the fact that it has Amazon built in is kind of a nice bonus. But is it an absolute requirement? If they turned off that feature, would I miss it? Probably not.
Yeah, what is the real market for something like a Sonos speaker? It's probably pretty small. It's a premium product, so they make good money on each one. But it's a small company, and it's always going to be a small company. For Apple, the HomePod is a peripheral. It's a sideshow to their main business. which is iPhone sales. So it can make sense for Apple too, for whatever that's worth.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I agree. I agree with him.
Yep. So that was interesting. The next one comes from DevSpeed on the Cortana can now read SMS messages on Android. He says it's about time. This is one of the big things I missed from Windows Phone when I switched to Android. So
yeah, it is the bane of my existence anyway, and I think anyone who's a Microsoft enthusiast that we're going to be dealing with the. Yeah, I used to love that when I had it on Windows Phone 100 years ago. Kind of stuff, because it's we're in kind of the nostalgic phase, I guess. But yes, I mean, I feel like I've just told the story a million times, but the central promise of Windows Phone, the reason I was so excited about it in the beginning, was this notion that you would be able to do everything from centralized hubs. And so in the case of messaging, for example. Windows Phone, like any other smartphone platform, had a messenger app of whatever name, but it was going to work with different services, right? So at the time, it was probably still Windows Live Messenger and then Skype eventually, but it would also do SMS and MMS. And the idea was that Facebook Messenger could plug into this and whatever other messaging services. But as we saw across all of the integration points in Windows Phone, the various hubs and so forth, third-party brands don't want to do that. They want you to think of their app. In fact, if you think about how Facebook has kind of escalated on phones, they have multiple apps. They want multiple presence points on your phone. They don't want to be subsumed by the brand of the phone in that case. And that's why that's one of the many reasons why Windows Phone failed. So it's a good idea in the sense that it was very user-centric and made life easier for us, but whatever. So the thing he's talking about, though, is not that exact feature, but it was one of many little kind of neat innovations that were in Windows Phone, and it made it nice to use in the car, for example, when you're driving around hands-free, so forth. It's good. It is good. It's good. It's definitely a useful feature.
Yep. And the one feature I'm missing from Windows Phone, which is going to become more pervasive here as my daughter gets older, is Kids Corner. It's when we don't really let her play on our phones, but I mean, they use iPads at school. She knows how to pick it up and operate it. And when I see her holding my phone and like swiping through, I'm like, oh, Jesus, what is she doing? Who's getting called? What is she deleting? And here we are.
Yep, that's true. And that's something I'm kind of amazed Apple hasn't figured out. This notion of parental controls, which do exist, but what you're really kind of asking for is a reduced mode for kids on your phone, or better yet, a different login where you can specify what's Kids Corners. It's what you just described. Where you say they can run these apps with these permissions and do these things only. The browser works in a certain way, et cetera, and that's smart functionality. It is goofy to me, given the pervasiveness of Apple, that they haven't done that for the iPhone.
And it'd be real easy for them to do too. You could just assign the fingerprint reader if she does it on her finger, or the Face ID scanner if it's her face that's logging in. This is what she can access.
Bingo, exactly right. Yep.
I'm gonna write them an email and then send them an invoice.
I feel like it's inevitable that they announce this functionality, right? It's goofy that it hasn't happened yet.
You'd think, but then here we are, and we can't even take an icon and move it and have a space in between them.
That is possibly the perfect retort to anything that I just said. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yes.
Yep.
Fair enough.
Paul, you got anything else on this sunny-filled Friday afternoon? And it is.
No, I'm gonna. I'm still behind on my Samsung review. Sorry, it's gotten a little out of control. There's a lot to talk about in the camera stuff, and the side-by-side comparison stuff is what's dragging it down. I've started chopping some of that out, but given the way today is going, I think I'm going to target the weekend for part 2 and then next week for part 3. So, if you've been waiting for that, I apologize, but I've actually worked on it a ton. It's a surprisingly humongous topic. But I will eventually get it done. I promise. Also, I don't know if it's worth discussing the Thurrott Now stuff here. Maybe not, because not everyone listening is a premium subscriber. But I mentioned to you, and I guess to Tim as well, that the feedback was not what I was hoping for on my plan to change Thurrott Now from being a separate part of the site where it takes up space on the homepage for premium users and making it part of the forums. So a lot of the commentary from people who didn't like this was because they wanted the RSS part of it or some way to know that these things were separate. Some people recommended putting them right into the article stream, which, actually isn't a terrible idea either. In fact, you could make the argument that if you or I post to the forums, maybe that should be in the article feed. I guess I don't know what the logistics are to that. But it occurred to me that maybe, it occurred to me after Tim told me that this was possible, I should say. So I guess it occurred to Tim that we actually do have RSS feeds you can build off of the forums. And so it's possible that if I did a Thurrott Now specific forum, instead of putting those posts in other parts of the forums, that you could follow that on the RSS. And then that way you don't have to go to the site and look for my stuff inside of a list of other forum posts. I will say, just full disclosure, one of the problems with me putting this into the forums is that I would be edging out other people who are readers, because I may post in one day 5 or 7 of these things, and it might push out some of the stuff that other people have written, and I don't want to do that. So I guess the long story short is we will have to discuss this further. And here comes my cat. Okay.
I think that's a fitting end. All right.
Settle down. Okay. You're fine.
Well, folks, that wraps it up for today. We will be back on Monday during the usual show. Hopefully there'll be a lot more to talk about because Microsoft is leading up to build, and we've got a lot of good things on the horizon. Actually, this camera will be here, so at least we'll have that, if nothing else. But have yourselves a wonderful and hopefully warm weekend, and stay dry. I know Paul and I are going to be getting wet, and not in a happy way or any shape or form. It's going to be raining. Let's just be real clear. It'll be raining. So we'll catch you right back here on Monday, and have yourselves a wonderful day.
I mean, today's going to be beautiful. When I go to that game, it's going to be like 65 degrees out.
That's right. That is right. I'm going to
go. It's going to be. Today literally is already beautiful.
Yep. I'm going to go to the gym.
All right. Enjoy that.
Yep. Adios.
I'll talk to you later.